Let's see. Are we live yet? Yes, we
Yeah, it says
are.
we're live.
Hello, hello,
Mhm.
hello. Oh my goodness. It seems like forever since let me mute this. It seems like forever since I've gone live on this channel. And like Wolfden said, it's been like a century. But I'm happy to be on here, and I brought some friends along with me today, Mr. James Parker, aka Fiery Phoenix,
Hello.
and tonight we're gonna have some fun. Okay, we're gonna leave all the drama on YouTube and all the drama that's going on in the world right now. Just leave it outside and just have some fun and good conversation. And we're all going through this pandemic right now. I hope that everybody's taking the time to check in on your loved ones and your friends and your neighbors, and just leaving a note or a phone call, and just making sure everybody's okay. And most importantly, definitely making sure you stay good. So, but we're not going to talk about that. That's going to be for another stream, another day. Me and Morticia will be going live. We'll be going live on her channel this weekend. So make sure you stay tuned to at Team Truthers. That's the management page. And we'll be updating the day and time we'll be going live to just catch up with everybody. So, James,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Well, not much. Got a question for you.
What question do you have for me?
What do you think about when I mentioned the name Ed and Lorraine Warren?
What
What do you
comes?
think of?
What do I think about? What comes to my
Mhm.
mind? I would
Yeah.
say, paranormal royalty, world renowned, the best at their craft. Um, the mom and pop of the things that go bump in the night. You know what I'm saying? And if people don't know of that name, they probably live under a rock. But that's okay. That's okay. We're not gonna beat you up because you live under a rock. I'll try to shed a little light on who Lorraine and Ed Warren are. So Ed Warren was a demonologist, and he also did lectures. His wife Lorraine was a clairvoyant and medium. Okay, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952. They were paranormal investigators who helped a lot of people and were involved in thousands, okay, of thousands of cases. And according to their wiki, if I read it correctly, over 10,000 paranormal cases they were involved in. They authored several books like The Hunted, Werewolf, Graveyard, and that's just to name a few. Um, Now, Ed and Lorraine Warren were portrayed in movies such as The Conjuring, Annabelle Comes Home, Haunting in Connecticut, and now sadly Ed Warren passed away in 2006, and then Miss Lorraine Warren passed away in April of 2019. And all the things that they have done for the people they have helped, and everything they started, and everything they gave to the paranormal community, their legacy does not end there. Okay, it is being carried on by Chris McKinnell, who is not only the director and chairman of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research, but also the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And we are privileged to be joined by him tonight. So let me go ahead and get him in the stream. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome, Chris.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Sorry.
And by the way, I
It's an
have to
honor to have
apologize if the background noise gets to be a problem. Please let me know. I'm in Rio de Janeiro, and it is pretty noisy out on the street right now.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
So go ahead, James. Go ahead. So,
Well,
what was it like growing up with Ed and Lorraine Warren as your grandparents? I know you
Yeah,
probably
people
get
always.
that question all the time.
Yeah, I do, and it was my grandmother was just the most grandmotherly person you could possibly hope for.
Yeah.
Um, so it didn't mean much to me that yeah, they also went out and did the Amityville Horror and stuff like that. My grandfather, he was yeah, you gotta know something about my grandfather. The movies don't quite get him right. Um,
Yeah.
he was a
yeah.
World War II veteran. He joined the Marines when he was 16. Got kicked out because, of course, he was too young. But when he turned 17, he was in the Navy, and he
Wow.
was doing supply runs back and forth to Britain and dodging the wolf pack. And he was in Japan. I mean, the guy was a hero. Um,
Wow.
so it was pretty great, actually. Yeah, when I was young, they would take me on lecture tours with them.
Mhm.
Uh, heck, we went to haunted houses and would check them out. It was just family. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that ever occurred to me as being strange, except of course, at school where I was the weird kid because your grandparents are ghost hunters.
Right. It was just normal to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and you said that he joined the Navy at 16
Yes, when he was
and was
17.
and and was kicked out.
No, that was the Marines when he was
Oh,
16.
oh, the Marines. Oh my goodness. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, he was in a hurry. He was in a hurry.
I know I was reading a little bit about I think over on TonySparrow.com, I think it
Yeah.
was, when they were talking about how your grandparents had met and how your grandmother like she knew that she was going to be, basically spending the rest of her life with your grandfather. It was really nice to read about that.
Yeah, he was working in a movie theater as an usher, and she had come in with a couple of girlfriends, and he, being the playboy gigolo that he wanted to be, he invited them out for a soda. After my grandmother, being my grandmother, wanted instead of the 5 cent soda, she wanted the 15-cent malt. But as they were saying goodnight, he was crossing the street, and all of a sudden she got this image of him as a middle-aged man, and she knew that was the man she was going to spend the rest of her life with.
Wow. Wow. And
Yeah.
she and your grandmother, Miss Lorraine Warren, she was realized her gifts early on, right? Like when she was
Oh
really
yeah,
young.
yep. She
Yeah.
was at St. Charles Catholic School, which I also went to, and so did my mother. Um, and they were planting a tree for Arbor Day, and she saw the tree full grown and mentioned it to a nun, and the nun said, "That's not something we ever talk about." So she learned early to not tell people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Um, what kind of, because I'm pretty sure you had a lot of experiences over the years, what kind of experiences have you had, and do you continue to have experiences as far as like the paranormal?
Uh, I've been doing this for 40 years now, since I was 16 years old. Well, all right, 39 years. But I've seen it all. Possession, of course, poltergeist cases, spontaneous fires. I've been picked up and lifted above the stairs in the Schmerl home in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. Mrs. Schmerl grabbed me, as did my assistant, and pulled me in out of thin air so that I didn't get thrown down the stairs. Another time I was in a house and with my cousin. It was a house we had finished with 2 years earlier, and we were just visiting the family. And they invited us to spend the night, and we were sharing a bed and our sleeping bags. And he was complaining that I was kicking the bed, and so I'm not kicking the bed. And all of a sudden, the bed picked up, flew across the room, slammed down, broke into pieces, and he just went out of his mind. He lost it, and I was laughing because I just
Yeah.
thought, "Wow, that was cool."
Oh gosh, I don't know what I probably would have been too scared to even move. Okay, I have no idea what I would have done.
Yeah.
That's crazy. James, do you have some questions?
Well, have you had any attachments?
Have I personally? No, I have not. I do know how to protect myself, and I do it every single time. That is something that I cannot stress enough because so many people get involved in this without truly understanding what they're doing. And, they go out and
Yeah.
they try to do EVPs, they download these apps on their phones, or they go out and they buy, $5,000 spirit boxes. And,
Hmm.
all you need is your phone and your recorder on your phone, or even an old tape recorder. Because if something wants to communicate, it will manipulate the energy and communicate with you. Stop wasting your money on equipment that you don't need.
Yeah.
But the problem with spirit communication is it's such a slippery slope because you could say the wrong thing, and without even knowing you've done it, you've opened the door and allowed this thing to attach to you. So I strongly recommend that people don't do that. And, a lot of my colleagues do. I
Hmm.
respect them. I respect their abilities, and I respect the fact that they know what they're doing. But there are a lot of innocent people out there who want to do this because they see it on television or they see it on the internet, and they really don't know what they're getting into. For instance, this is the way I put it.
Hmm.
You wouldn't watch an episode of ER and then go out and try to do surgery. So
Right.
please
Yeah.
get together with people who know what they're doing and learn from them. Don't try it on your own. And make sure whoever you're with is reputable. Personally, I recommend you go through our network because we've got a worldwide network and we're out there to help people.
So it could be dangerous because if just like you just explained, it could turn bad really fast, and
Absolutely.
get people out there who just like you said, they get interested and then they open up a can of worms. That was actually one question that I had for you, but you answered it. So, um,
And it's not that they don't have good intentions. I'm not saying that they're not stupid or anything. It's just
mhm,
they don't know. And
right.
because, for instance,
Yeah.
You can have 10 different families live in a house and never have a problem. And then that one family moves in and it's the right family. It's a perfect storm. You don't know if you're that one person who goes into the graveyard with your tape recorder, what have you.
Hmm.
If you're the one that's going to make that connection. It's why Ouija boards or seances or automatic writing or any form of spirit communication is dangerous because you don't know if you're
Yeah,
going to connect with it.
Yeah.
right. Or who you might
Yeah.
even connect with. I've heard a lot of talk about.
Exactly. I mean,
Hmm. Go ahead.
all the time they try to act. A negative entity will often appear in the most innocent guise at first because they want to first create the attachment. Once they've got the attachments, that's when they turn dark because they feed off of negative energy like a vampire, and they are trying to use as little energy as they can to get as much energy from you as they can. So they're going to prime you so
Hmm.
that you hear a bump in the night and you're going to assume it's that spirit when it's probably a squirrel or something falling off a tree. But because you're throwing out so much negative energy, so much fear or anger or whatever, or anxiety, you're feeding this entity. So then it can use more energy to hurt you again.
So, I don't know if you can answer this, but what would be like the classic signs of like an attachment?
Here's the thing that I tell people.
Mm-hmm.
Always assume it's natural. Always. Because even if it is actually paranormal, the more attention you give to it, the more energy you give to that, the stronger that attachment becomes. When people come to me, they'll often say, you know, I've got the worst luck, I've got bad health, this is all brand new. You know, I think I have an attachment. Well, yeah, that is possible. But 98% of the time, it's just life happening to you.
Right.
You know, let us find out why you believe it's paranormal. What paranormal phenomena has taken place? So if I don't see paranormal phenomena, then I'm thinking it's probably not an attachment.
Right.
Yeah. Chris, what do y'all look for in a paranormal case? I mean, what's the classic signs?
I'm sorry, what's the what? The last part? I didn't catch that.
What's the classic signs for that y'all look for doing a paranormal case?
Okay. Well, that's really hard to define simply because, well, our questionnaire is many pages long because there's so many different things that can happen. And depending on where you are in the world, your cultural beliefs and your regional beliefs will shape the way that phenomena appears. For instance, a Hindu family is never going to be haunted by a Christian demon. It just doesn't happen that way. It's your beliefs that change the way the phenomena is shaped. So if it cannot be explained away naturally, then we're looking at something that may be paranormal, but we have to delve deeper. That's the point when we start to ask a lot more questions. Are we dealing with mental illness? Are we dealing with the paranormal? Are we dealing with both? And that does happen a lot because, as I said earlier, you know, there's always a reason why that one family or that one individual is more open than others. Often it's a teenager going through puberty, and therefore their emotions are all out of whack, and that attachment is easier because everything's brand new and fresher and more powerful. Sometimes it's depression or anxiety or schizophrenia. Just because a person is schizophrenic doesn't mean they don't have paranormal phenomena.
Right.
You know, and again, I'm certainly not saying that every single person that has paranormal phenomena is mentally ill. Definitely not saying that.
Right.
But there's something, and if we don't deal with that underlying issue, then unfortunately the phenomena can reoccur.
Right.
That's something I've learned the hard way.
You know, I just recently watched a little episode of Oprah, and they had a child on there. I think he was about maybe 10 years old, and you know, the parents had, you know, had him looked over by doctors and stuff like that because he was having these outbursts and fits, and you know, he was having like feelings of wanting to hurt his family and stuff like that. So they, you know, they put him on all this medicine, and it was so much stuff going in the home. The parents ended up separating. They ended up living in different homes with they separated the kids, and the child had went to Oprah's studio. So here's a child that's used to having these outbursts, and something stuck out to me. And he goes, because she asked him, she asked him, like, "Are you angry now?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm only angry when I'm at home." And I swear, I just thought, you know, here's this kid that they probably think have all these mental problems, and it's really something paranormal that's going on. You know,
That's certainly possible. But I
Yeah.
would hesitate to try to diagnose that because I don't know the case.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I would need a lot more information. What was going on in the home? Why is this child acting out in the home? You know, often one person in a family, and this is psychology now, but
Hmm.
one person in a family will act out, will be the barometer for the family. When things are bad, that child acts out or that person acts out because they're the one that it's showing the underlying problems in the house. And that's purely psychological. On the other hand, poltergeist phenomena and so forth often will manifest because of all of that high energy. And I
Yeah.
mean, that can be incredibly destructive. I've worked a case where the children were going through hell, but it was because the children were psychologically going through hell and they were manifesting all the phenomena.
Mm. Wow.
And there was a
Wow.
lot of phenomena. I mean, windows breaking, fires, uh, starting by themselves, things flying around the rooms, black shadows, demonic figures showing
Wow.
and threatening. All of it was there. I remember the night I showed up. The first night I showed up in the house, the police had already been called a couple of times, and unfortunately, it had been put in the police blotter that the family had said that their house was haunted. And so when I got there, there were hundreds and hundreds of cars on that back street. And that's when I realized immediately, I was in I was in college, and I immediately realized we always have to treat our clients like patients, and their confidentiality comes first, always, because otherwise
Yeah.
we can destroy their lives.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I've always heard, this is just what I've always heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but you was talking about like gateways. I've heard mirrors
Sure,
can be like
portals.
gateways. Yeah, I heard mirrors could be gateways as well.
I think you're referring to portals.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Actually, I just read an interesting article several months ago about NASA discovering portals of solar energy opening on Earth, and that they can
Wow.
map these out. It's something that I'm very curious to get a hold of that map. And I'm hoping it's alive, maybe, and see if that's not also a place where hauntings occur. Is that energy helping these things to manifest? I don't know, and I'm fascinated by that idea because I do believe that quantum physics has a huge amount to do with the phenomena that we deal with the energy entities that we're interacting with, because they
Yeah.
are intelligent.
Right.
The way they manifest is intelligent. But what they are, I don't know, because as I said, I've lived in over a dozen countries on 5 continents now,
Mm.
and the entities manifest differently in different places. So they're not just Christian demons or Hindu demons or Japanese demons. They are what they are in that location. Why?
Hmm. Um, just off the places that you've investigated or you've lived or if you've had experiences in throughout the world, what would you say is the most haunted place that you've actually, have been in?
The most haunted place. Wow. Um, I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, the places that have more firmly established histories, lots more people have lived there, and more things have happened.
Hmm.
You're going to get a lot of phenomena, a lot of ghosts, because they make attachments, especially places that have a lot of stone buildings. For instance, Europe or Asia, uh,
Hmm.
be, because stone retains the energy better than wood would. Wood does.
Okay. Okay. I know that your grandmother had said in an interview that the Amityville house was one of the most haunted houses in the world. And
Yes.
mhm,
Yeah, I've never been there, so I can't speak to that personally.
yeah,
But from everything my grandparents told me, I know they never wanted to go back again.
it must
It
be
was
something to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, as my grandmother put it, her words, it is as close to hell as she ever hopes to get.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to go there. I wouldn't
No.
want to go there.
No. And I
um,
was talking to a man who told me, and he's an interviewer. Um, he had a reporter on who had been in the house with my grandparents and had followed the owners for many years afterward, all the different owners. And
mhm.
even though it's not talked about, it's not publicized, many of these owners have had a lot of problems in that house.
Wow.
Mm.
I wouldn't want to buy it. I tell you that much. It just has.
No, neither would I. And I've heard people say, "Oh, I would want to make it a bed and breakfast." No.
But then you would have so many people flocking there to get a room. You know what I mean? And then it's like you walking into chaos and don't even know it, or you know it might be there. It might affect you, and it's like playing Russian roulette.
That's it exactly. You have no idea.
Um, the interesting thing about the Amityville house that I read about was the first family, the DeFeo, I think it's DeFeo family, who
Yeah, they weren't
were.
actually the first. They weren't actually the first. The house was built long before the DeFeos, but
Oh,
the
okay.
but the DeFeos had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Ronald DeFeo Sr., from all reports, was a pretty brutal man. Um, and the family had a lot of internal problems with one another. So when things started to manifest, they had a fertile breeding ground. They had a lot of
Mm,
negative energy to grab onto.
mm. The one thing that had really like kind of like just me floored me was the fact that when the murders took place in the Feo family, they if I read correctly, that the family members were all found face down with a gun inflicted wound, and it was like as if nobody heard that first shot. You know what I mean? Um,
That's right.
and that I'm just
And
like,
none of the neighbors heard it either, even though these houses were very close to each other.
and was it a shotgun?
Yes, it was.
So it would have to be very, very loud.
Yeah, it would have been like thunder going off in the room with you.
Wow.
Although one of the children, was found outside the bedroom.
Oh, sorry, the bed. And then I know
Mm.
the Lutz family moved in after that, and they had already knew about the history, some of the history of the house, right? About what happened there, and uh, in their interview, they said the first hour they moved in, the first hour that they moved in, they were already starting to have experiences. Um,
Yeah, I did meet them. They were very nice people. They had overextended themselves terribly to buy the house. They knew what had happened, but that's
mhm,
why it was so cheap. So they were excited,
right.
because George was this tough,
Yeah.
biker type, and um, they were starting all over again, and they really wanted a fresh start. And but they had a lot of stress, a lot of problems, and they were a blended family. George was the stepdad, and so there was already that perfect breeding ground for stuff to manifest, and it did, and it went bad immediately.
Wow. And I think they stayed there, was it 27, 28 days? And then that was it. They were gone.
Yeah, that's right. And
I,
Mhm.
even when Channel 5 in New York City contacted my grandparents and asked them to check out this house and say whether or not it was truly haunted, a haunted house,
mhm.
the Lutzes would not go to the house to give them the keys. They had to go to Kathy Lutz's mother's house to get the keys
That,
because there was no way they wanted anything. The only thing George wanted from that house was the deed. That was it. So they could get
mhm.
rid of the house. Everything else in that house, their gun collection, their coin collection, which were worth thousands of dollars, everything was left behind.
They lost everything.
Everything. Yep.
Do you think
And the phenomena followed them all the way to California. The attachment was
So,
that fast.
wow. So they kept having experiences even after they left the home.
That's right.
Wow.
wow?
It's got to be hard to go
Do
through,
you think
especially when you have children, you know.
That's right. Yeah. And
yeah?
it kills me when it's the kids. I mean, I grew up afraid of the dark. Imagine that, right?
Me too.
With grandparents like mine, how
Yeah.
could that possibly not have been? But you know, so I feel for the kids. I really really feel for them. Um, but when I was 16, my grandfather, just like a lot of fathers do, threw me in the deep end of the pool, and
Mm.
it was a poltergeist case, and I saw everything right out of a Hollywood film. From hulking demons coming down the stairs to things flying across the room and coming at my head, woman being clawed in front of me, the lights going on and off, the recliner flipping over, banging noises shaking the house, growling and clawing in the walls, all of it. Even an upside down crucifix in the bathroom.
Wow.
It was a perfect storm, and my grandfather had me sitting upstairs in the master bedroom in the dark while they were downstairs lighting Holy Church incense to piss this thing off so they can identify what they were dealing with. He had me upstairs waiting to see what would happen.
Wow.
Whoa.
After that night, I've never been afraid of the dark. I figured if I could live with that, I could live with anything.
I would still be afraid.
Yeah.
I would still. I couldn't do it. So
Well,
when
it was
they're,
literally a baptism of fire.
yeah, when they are lighting the, like you said, lighting the incense, right? That's called what, provocation or
Religious provocation.
provocation. Okay,
Oh yeah.
okay.
And that's something else we should talk about too, because one thing that my grandparents never did, and I never do, is try to just talk to them. No. If you truly believe that you're dealing with something dark, and my grandmother was good, I mean, unbelievably good. I've seen her do things that would
Mhm.
blow your mind. And she knew if you were dealing with something dark or something that was just human. And if it
mm,
was human, fine. If you're that good a medium that you can tell, then more power to you. Go ahead and you do what you do, because I know some fantastic mediums, and they're perfectly capable of communication with spirits without getting hurt. But when you don't know what you're dealing with, then you use religious provocation first. You use your faith as a shield always. And if you are an atheist, then you're going in defenseless.
mm, wow. Um,
And I don't
Yeah.
care. You can be Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, uh, Kimbandist. It doesn't matter what your faith is. What matters is that you have faith.
right, right. What's the
Yeah.
perfect, like, what's the correct way one would ground themselves, or to protect themselves, or even if they weren't dibbling dabbling, even just the negative energy and things like that. How could someone, whether it's praying or envisioning themselves in like a white light, or how could somebody protect themselves?
Again, it really comes down to your faith. And what you do is you take your faith and through ritual and intention, you focus it into a protection. And there are so many different ways to do that.
Okay.
You can have blessings, the white light or the Christ light, as many people call it. But what it boils down to is that you use meditation, focus, what have you. You use that ritual that you go through, whether it be prayer or whatever, but you must be focused. You can't, for instance, as a Christian, you can't just say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. That's nothing. That isn't going to help anybody do anything. You have to concentrate on those words. You have to feel those words, and you have to believe those words. And if you don't, it ain't going to work.
Wow. Then they'll be bringing you up like, I got a problem. you know?
Right now, me and several of my colleagues are actually putting together a book of protection for people, regardless of your faith. I've got people who are Taoists helping me. I've got people who are witches helping me. I've got a Vatican-trained demonologist helping me. So that regardless of your faith, we can help you to protect yourself.
Yeah,
but it does come down to faith.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a book that I would definitely go and get, because I think, like you said, you can't just say a little prayer and think that, you're automatically going to be protected. And some people, they really don't know. Even if they do have the faith, sometimes they don't know how to really do it. So that would be really, really interesting read.
And, the thing is, a lot of people are very devout, and they'll, a devout Christian, and they're picking up the Bible and they're reading it, and nothing's happening. Well, often it's because you're not really thinking about the words that you're saying, and you're not putting the faith behind it, and also because your fear is counteracting your faith. Fear is truly the enemy here. And when your fear overruns your faith, then you're just giving it so much energy that it can't counteract it.
Wow. Okay.
Really? Yeah.
So,
Go
ahead, James. I'm sorry.
This is a question I've been kind of wanting to ask. What are your thoughts on having Ouija boards like in big stores sold as toys?
I'm sorry. Can Miss D, could you repeat that for me? I have difficulty.
Okay, I think
he
said. Yeah. I think he said that. What do you think about these big box stores selling like Ouija boards like that as toys?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's insane. They say, it says right on the Ouija board box, recommended for children 8 and up, and now they make them in pretty colors for girls. It isn't the problem; it's the intention to connect with the spiritual realm, and you don't have control over what comes through. You can set up all the protections you want. You can make your circle, and you can light your incense, and you can light your candles, and whatever your particular ritual for protection is. The moment you invite entities in, even if you say, Uncle Ted, you're the only one I want to hear from, all you've done is open the front door. Anything can come through. And I know plenty of people who will say, that's not true. I've been using them my whole life. And I say, then you're one of those rare people, because it is Russian roulette. And if you have the vulnerability, you're the one that gets hurt. 10,000 people can use the Ouija board without ever having an experience. But the people who do, it can be pretty horrific.
Wow. I think I played with the Ouija board once when I was about 15. Strange things started happening, and I left it alone, never picked it up again after that. No way. And wouldn't allow one in my
Hey,
house.
I did it with my mother. She should know better. You know,
Wow.
I was about 13 years old and we were doing it, but nothing happened. Thank God.
Your mom, she had experiences growing up in the home, right? Like when it came to like I think the Annabelle doll, was it?
No, don't
No.
believe the movies at all,
Okay.
please. The Conjuring movies are based on reality, to an extent. The first one is pretty good actually. The second one tried to combine Amityville and Enfield, England. There was no connection there. The Nun never existed. That was created by James Wan. The Annabelle movies are complete fantasy. If you want the truth about Annabelle, I believe it's Conjuring 2 where they talk about the nurses and the crayons on the writing on parchment paper being found with messages from her, and her moving from room to room, and her clawing the boyfriend, and all the other horrible things that the entity did.
Mhm.
That's in one of the Conjuring movies. But I was actually let me see. I was probably 5 years old when Annabelle came to us. So
Mm.
my mother was already in her 20s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the good little girl that plays my mother, she's
Uh,
actually my age. Uh, in those movies, I was actually that age, not my mother.
wow. Wow. Hollywood, huh?
Well,
um,
hey, yeah. When you sign over the rights to your stories, you lose all control over how they choose to produce them.
portray, yeah.
But having said that, having
Hmm.
said that, and I do caution people, don't think you know the work or you know my grandparents from the movies, because you don't. And don't get me wrong, Vera Farmiga loves my grandmother. Spent a lot of time with her, and I think she does a wonderful job. And Patrick Wilson, terrific actor, but he never met my grandfather. He never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
So his portrayal, for instance, when he picks up the guitar and starts singing in Conjuring 2, I'm thinking, yeah, my grandfather would never would have done that.
Wow. um, what about the hunting in Connecticut?
Actually, that was my case. I was the lead investigator. I spent 9.5 weeks in that house, um,
Wow.
and reported to my grandparents regularly, of course. It was a former funeral home. Carmen and Al Snedeker and their kids and Carmen's niece moved into that house, and things immediately got bad. Unfortunately, they were trapped there at the time because their oldest boy had leukemia, and they
Hmm.
were going to Yukon Medical Health Center, which was in Farmington, Connecticut, not far from Southington, and that they had no choice. That they didn't have the money to relocate, so they were stuck. So I was there every single night for 9.5 weeks until we got everything cleaned out. It was horrific. It was a incubus case, which means an entity that attacks a woman sexually and violently.
Mm. Yeah,
It
I've
didn't
read up
start
on
out
some of
that way.
that.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, it didn't start out that way. It started out attacking the boy, and the boy was actually down in the basement, right next to the embalming room, where they still had the embalming table. They had the chain hoists that lifted the bodies up to the master bedroom.
Hmm.
Um, it was all still there.
Wow.
And
So,
and please do not
mhm.
believe anything that's in the Haunting in Connecticut movie. I couldn't even get through the first 45 minutes of it. It was just horrible.
So it's that
But
bad?
if you
Oh
want to
my
know
goodness.
about it,
Hmm.
if you do want
Wow.
to know about that case, and don't go into the book, the author who actually wrote that book didn't do a good job. But Discovery Channel did a great documentary called A Haunting in Connecticut, which ended up doing a whole series called A Haunting, I think. But A Haunting in Connecticut was a 2-hour documentary, and my cousin, who I actually was helping, and it was where we first met, was on that case. He was working with me, and he is in the documentary. At that point in time, I wanted nothing to do with publicity. I didn't want anybody to know who I was. I was raising my son, so I'm not actually mentioned in there at all. But I am in the first edition of most of their books. I just wouldn't allow them to put me in later editions.
I don't blame you, because then they could twist it and spin it and do what they wanted to do. So, so I mean, what was the worst thing about that case, though? I know that so much happened. What was, like? I mean, if you could kind of like tell us some more experiences that you had inside the home.
In that particular home, or
Yes.
you mean the worst cases?
No, in that particular home.
Oh boy. Well, there were plenty of times when the woman came under attack, and I was the one that was holding her and trying to pull her as she was being psychically pulled down into this incredibly dark place, and she was going almost comatose. I was the one that was, by the power of Jesus Christ, I command you to be gone, and I'm putting the St. Benedict's medal on her forehead and the crucifix on her chest, and I'm screaming for this thing to let her go by the power of Jesus Christ, and pulling her out that way. But there were other incidents. For instance, one afternoon, because most nights it was hellish, I was sleeping in the master bedroom on the floor, right on the lift where the bodies would come up from the basement, and the French doors to the basement, as I was laying there, opened, and I could hear them, and I could hear the footsteps coming across the room toward me, and I had phantomania, which is psychic paralysis. Only ever happened to me in hauntings. Never happens to me any other time, just in hauntings. And I could hear them coming around me, and I could feel them above me, oppressive as all get out. And inside my head, I'm screaming, by the power of Jesus Christ, I command you to be gone. Of course, I can't say it out loud. And I'm envisioning this white cross over me, blasting outward. And everything was fine after that. But for a few moments, it was a pretty harrowing experience. I think the thing, though, that most people could actually check on, at least I hope they can check on, one evening, we had done an interview with PM Magazine, which was an old nightly news magazine that was syndicated all over the country. And it came on at, I think, 7 o'clock at night. And I was outside with the kids, and Carmen called us in to watch the interview because it was just about to start. And just then, the transformer on the power pole, on the telephone pole, right in front of the house, blew up like dynamite. Literally blew up. Knocked out the power for all of Southington, Connecticut. I'm sure if somebody wanted to check, the records are there. There was no power. Nobody saw that PM Magazine interview that night in Southington. The rest of the country saw it, just not us.
Wow.
So energy manipulation is the simplest thing for these entities to deal with because of their energy. But that was a pretty overt display of power.
Wow. So do you think that so energy travels, right? And let's say somebody has an attachment to them, a spirit attachment to them. could they, and me and them are on like the telephone or like we're on the internet right now, how we're all talking, could that entity then like come to my place if I might be a little bit open or, whatever? Could that entity maybe travel to my place?
Could that energy do what?
Could that's okay. So if somebody has like an attachment or like a spirit, right? And say I'm on the line on like how we are right now, online with this person talking. And could that energy, that negative energy or bad energy or spirit energy come to me through the
Of
electricity,
course.
through yes, because I tell
Yes.
you, Miss Alicia, who right? Everybody knows her here as Morticia Adams. Yeah, I don't know what she has attached to her, but we were having a show and we were just talking, talking about the paranormal and we were asking some questions and some people had you know said they had a family who had passed over and all of a sudden we started hearing this thing start like laughing. I heard it. And
Yes.
then next thing I know, I started hearing things in my apartment. I hung up on Miss
Absolutely.
Morticia
Very.
Adams.
That's incredibly common. These things, you'll be interviewing the family, and then there'll be a voice talking over the family or laughing in the background. That happens all the time. It's
Mm-mm.
funny how the phenomena is so repetitive in a particular culture. It's, I think, why mythology picks up and starts to say, well, in Thailand, for instance, there's a female ghost that haunts banana plantations, and it's supposed to be uh, the woman who is murdered by a jealous husband, and now she lures men to their deaths. Um, and so that phenomena does actually take place. But is that because there actually is a ghost, or is that because people have believed it so much that now it manifests?
Because they put energy into it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. Um, One place I didn't get to go, but I've always read about it and I always wanted to go was the your grandparents' museum out in
Yeah.
Monroe, Connecticut. Is that still open to the
No,
public?
no, it is not. And to be honest, it's never been open to the public.
Oh.
Um, you could go there by special invitation. You could go there by special arrangement for, like, my grandparents used to do something called warnology, where they would have a group come in and they talk to people and they bring them down to the museum. But it wasn't. It's never been a business or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's always been more of a prison.
For those entities, those negative entities.
Right, and the Catholic Church would love it if we would just destroy them all, but that would only release the energy out into the world again, and we don't want to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Has anyone
Go ahead.
ever had an attachment from there at the museum?
Well, going back to Annabelle, um,
Hmm.
my friend, Father Bill Charbonneau, was a great man, and I grew up with him. I just adored the man. My grandmother would bring us to, Christmas Eve midnight mass every year to see him. And back in the 70s, before Annabelle was in her case, before my grandparents really understood how to protect people from this thing,
Hmm.
remember, they were learning this on their own. I had
Right.
their benefit. I learned from them, but they didn't. They didn't have anybody. And so Father Bill came over and he was showing off his brand new car. And he said, Ed, I hear you've got a doll that attacks people. It says, yeah, Father, you want to see it? It's downstairs. So they went downstairs, and Father Bill walks over to Annabelle, picks it up, throws it across the room, and says, God is stronger than the devil.
Mm.
And my grandfather said, that's true, Father, but no man is.
Mm.
And that night, as Father Bill was driving home, um, he saw this white halo of light coming straight at his car. And just before it would have hit him, he saw Annabelle in the center of the halo. And he veered, get out of the way. He went into a ditch, totaled the car, and broke his leg. Not exactly an attachment, but certainly an attack.
It's like can't provoke it. Don't provoke it.
Oh, my grandparents had a similar experience where they were in Pennsylvania with their old car called the Ghost because the license plate said Ghost. And they were going through Lord's Valley and Bethlehem and all of these wonderful biblical sounding names. And my grandpa, and this was at the time of Amityville and Annabelle, and he said, not even Annabelle and the Amityville horror could bother us here. Ha 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 ha. And they were on, I believe, Route 81 or 84 in Pennsylvania. And there was nobody around them, just a truck about a quarter mile behind them. And all of a sudden, something slammed into the back of their car and ran them right off the road into the median. And the car wasn't terribly hurt, but they were certainly shook up, and it scared them quite a bit.
Wow.
I've had similar experiences after doing breaking a curse on a home. We were on our way home, and bam, on the way there, the car wouldn't start. On the way home, got in a car accident.
Wow. So it was trying to stop you from going.
Man.
Yep. And then it got pissed off because we had done something and there was some repercussions. It does happen.
Yeah.
And one other thing, twice we've lost people.
Really?
This is deadly work. It isn't a hobby. It isn't just exciting. Yeah, of course it's exciting, but it's deadly. And we're dealing with people's lives. And even if people don't die, they do have anxiety attacks, depression. They do come under possession. They do come under oppression. And it isn't a game, and it should never be treated as a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Go ahead, James.
I know. I see a lot of the ghost investors on TV. To me, it seems like they're glamorizing it.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you again.
He said a lot of these ghost shows that are on TV seem like they are glamorizing it. What are your thoughts on that?
I can't stand them. I can't stand them. You cannot take care of a haunting on a television production schedule. Mm-hmm. It just does. It's not real. I have no problem with educating the public about the paranormal. Matter of fact, I'll be doing a program on the Spirit Realm Network on the internet and on Facebook and on YouTube called The Warren Files, where we will be talking about stuff. And I'll be on location around the world showing things. But I'm not going to go into a person's home and expose that family just for ratings. I wouldn't ever do that to a family. I want to educate people so they don't get hurt by the paranormal. These other programs that are out there, and I know a lot of good people who are on these programs. Don't get me wrong, but it's still television, and they're still doing drama, and they're playing it up for the camera, and that's not appropriate in my mind. I just can't do it. I'm thankful as can be that the Conjuring movies and Annabelle came out, because it's given us the opportunity to go global. People know who we are, and we're able to help more and more people. So for that, thank God. But please don't think you're learning anything by looking at those movies.
Okay. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you mentioned books that my grandparents had
Mm-hmm.
worked on with other writers. The two that I would consider the best, all right, three. Two of them were written by an author named Gerald Brittle. One is The Devil in Connecticut, which I believe is probably going to be the basis of the next Conjuring movie, which was a bad case and resulted in a death.
Mm.
And the other one is The Demonologist, which is a collection of different cases that my grandparents worked on, and is an excellent, excellent book. It's used actually as a textbook in a lot of schools. The other one that I really admired was done by two Boston, and that was Satan's Harvest, about the Maurice Theriault case, which is also one of my cases.
Mm.
And unfortunately, we did lose Maurice. The exorcism went well, but the lesson we learned was all of those underlying problems were not dealt with. And a few years later, we believe he came under possession. He did exactly what his father did. He picked up a shotgun. And in his father's case, his father did kill Maurice's mother and then kill himself. Maurice blew the arm off his wife and then killed himself.
Gosh, man, tragically. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I will have to check those books out. Um, so your the organization. If you could talk to us about like the Warren legacy for psychic research.
Warren,
I'm
the
sorry.
Warren Legacy Foundation. Yeah, the Warren Legacy Foundation for
Mhm.
psychic research or paranormal research. Wow, this
Mhm.
is.
I'm sorry. It was my fault.
It's a global network of good, trustworthy professionals who are out there helping people for free who get in trouble with paranormal. They're there to help you to diagnose the problem, get you the resources you need, get you the help you need, and see you through these dark times. And it's something that my grandmother and I really wanted to do once the movies proved that we now were global. We
Yeah.
needed to expand, and it was important to me that we have the Warren name because I wanted my grandparents' work to live on in them, and I wanted people to never forget them.
Right. And then.
And we're not
Yeah.
everywhere. We're not
Mhm.
everywhere yet. If anybody out there is listening and they've got good experience, if they feel that their ego is not in control,
Mhm.
then talk to us. Get in touch with us. Warren Legacy Foundation at gmail.com or Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research on Facebook or warrenfiles.com. Get a hold of us. Let's talk because we want the best people in the world helping to gather information. We're also, a research foundation. And we want everybody's information so that we can pull it together, figure out what we're dealing with, and see if we can't cure this.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. So besides the books that you have coming out, the book that you have coming out, the podcast that you'll be doing, also working with the foundation, is there anything else that is coming up for you that you have planned?
Well, unfortunately, with the coronavirus, a lot of my plans have been canceled. In
Right.
October, the first weekend in October, because by then it better be done. We are doing a special seminar, 2 night seminar, and one afternoon, and this is pretty darned amazing. It's on Rock Island, Illinois. It's a YMCA, very haunted. It is a former brothel and
Ooh.
speakeasy, and the
Wow.
the women are still very active, as is this one obnoxious gangster. And we're going to have a meet and greet. We're going to have a bunch of presentations, not only by myself, but by others. And we're going to have 2 nights of investigations. A lot of the people that will be there, and it's limited to only 100 people.
Mm.
There are 5 floors, so nobody is going to be tripping over everyone while they're doing this. A lot of the people that are going to be there are members of the Warren Legacy Foundation, so you're going to be in good hands. I wouldn't do this if anybody would be in danger. I don't like those paranormal venues where people go in and here's a haunted asylum, and sorry
Mm.
if you're somebody who gets an attachment. No, we don't do that. This
Yeah.
is something that I know you will be safe, but it's also really active.
Wow.
It should be a lot of fun, and it's actually the first time I've done anything like this. So, I mean, I've done lectures and stuff, but this is a
Mhm.
little different, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Sounds like it's gonna be very interesting, and fun,
Oh yeah,
especially for somebody who's really into this type of thing. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love
Yeah,
it.
and it's
yeah.
cheap to fly into Chicago and then come on over.
Mm-hmm. Your YouTube channel. Do you have content on there? Like, are you putting videos up on the YouTube channel, or do you?
Oh yeah, we've got a bunch of videos and podcasts on Warren Files channel. And
Mhm.
once the Warren Files program starts on the Spirit Realm Network, we will be loading them onto there every week. So that should be a lot of fun as well.
Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I will.
Yeah.
I will definitely be tuning in.
Well,
Yes.
the thing is, I want to make this really, really clear.
Hmm.
It's not about me. It's not even about my grandparents. There are a lot of great people that I work with who
Hmm.
are amazing individuals. And they are all a part of this, and they all contribute, and they are the backbone that keeps us going. Uh, Without them, we couldn't do the work we do.
Right. Right.
That
James,
is
did
so
you have any
awesome.
more
Yeah.
questions?
Well,
James,
what is the?
you there?
I think you didn't answer my question. I was going to ask him. What is next for
Oh,
the Warren Lexi Foundation? I think you done
yeah, he just was
Yeah.
talking about it. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to add any more, Chris. I know we've been on an hour now, and I know that you're busy, and I thank you for like joining us tonight. And
It was an honor.
I loved your
Yeah.
grandparents. I mean, I really, really did, and
Yes.
Me too. Me
and
too.
I I've even watched Lorraine on the Paranormal State
Yeah. Yeah.
at one time.
Yeah.
Miss Lorraine. Yeah.
She popped up on there quite a bit. She really, really loved
Yeah.
the star of that program. They were close always.
Yeah,
Ryan.
and
Hmm.
that Paranormal State, that was actually a good well, it was a good I have a guilty pleasure. I watched some of the paranormal shows, like Ghost Adventure and Paranormal State,
Yeah.
but they took that Paranormal
Uh,
State away, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, but he ran into some
yeah.
troubles, and he got overwhelmed by things. And I think honestly, I think he got an attachment that
Mm,
made the things pretty dark for him for quite a while. But he came through. He did come through it. I think he's in a much better place now. I did see him at the funeral, my grandmother's funeral, and he
mhm.
seemed to be doing much better at
Yeah.
that point.
That's good. That's good. Well, it was like I said, it was honor having you on. And if you have anything else you want to share, go ahead at it. And
Oh, I think I've warned people enough. Just it's not a game. Please don't play. If it's something you really want to learn about, then yeah, check out our YouTube channel. I've certainly talked a lot, and there's a lot of good content there that can help you to understand what's out there. But please, when you're listening to what I talk about, don't think that that's enough to go out there and start doing the work. Please, I don't want you to get hurt.
be safe rather than sorry.
Exactly. Exactly. Too
And,
many of my clients are former investigators.
yeah. All of Chris McKinnell's links, because I know you have like Facebook pages and web pages, YouTube channel pages, all will be linked in the additional information section. James, I thank you. Chris, I thank you. Miss Alicia, aka Morticia Adams, who, if it wasn't for her, we probably wouldn't be able to talk to you right now. So I really
Yeah.
thank you. And James, if you want to say any last words. I think James is having audio problems.
I think I just wanted to say it's an honor meeting you.
Well, it's been
And
a pleasure meeting you both.
just thank you for coming up.
It's honestly been my pleasure. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my concerns, and that that I just don't want people to be hurt. If I can educate people before they get hurt, then I can save a lot more people. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
All right. All right. Um,
Yep.
so you guys, we're gonna go ahead and end it here. Remember, the world is going through a lot right now. Um, Remember to check on the people that you love, your friends, your neighbors, and stay tuned to At Team Truthers Management, because we will be going live again this weekend over on Morticia's stream. And on that note, we love you guys. Stay safe.
Yeah.
God bless you
Take
all.
care, everyone.
And God bless you. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.